when you're in the room with that artist and you're feeling the energy, you're feeling the vibe, a good engineer is gonna be able to grab that emotion, take it, and then figure out what you need to do to it to process it, to enhance that emotion further, to get your point across.
Most importantly though, you need the knowledge in order to know how to use all of those tools. I have like a lot of clients and they like to record themselves, but half the time they still end up booking sessions with us just because of the mere fact that they don't know how to get the exact sound that they want with the gear that they have. That's where audio engineering comes in.
Yo, what's up everybody, and welcome back to an official episode of the Audio Alchemy Podcast. So,
welcome.
Yeah, so we're super excited to bring this to you guys. This is probably going to be maybe the only episode maybe in the bunker right here in this location, because we're going to move it to another spot, but we're going to be bouncing around back and forth, whatever. But that's just a side note. So about the podcast, I just wanted to create something for you guys so that way we could talk about everything audio and music industry, music career related. You know what I'm saying? So not just about engineering and all the technicalities of engineering, although we will have those episodes for those who really want to get that deep into that subject, but we're also going to dive really deep into other subjects about maybe promoting your music, advertising your music, budgeting for your music, how to build relationships with certain people, producing, engineering, writing lyrics, everything, whatever, anything that you can think about within this music industry. That's what this
is all about.
That's what this podcast is all about. Yes, yes, indeed. So the first episode, but what better way to kick off this episode than to say this? What is life without sound? Not just music. Yeah, not just music, but sound.
Crazy.
Exactly.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Think about that for a second.
Because that's what I want to ask you guys. So a lot of people, I feel like they undervalue sound, but in reality, your hearing is super crucial for a lot of things. I'm pretty sure, I'm just talking on my ass here, but I'm pretty sure this is a real thing though. Even your hearing judges like your balance and stuff. So it's like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but that's just like whatever. That was just like a bullshit little side note. But yes, what is life without sound? If I didn't have subtitles on this, how would you even hear what I'm saying? You know
Exactly.
Imagine watching a movie with the sound off, or imagine, let's say you do watch a movie, but then this goes into music. You have a movie, but there's not the proper music playing to give that feeling or that tone or whatever. So sound is a very, very important role in life overall. I feel.
sound is a very important role in creating experiences, I feel like.
Yeah. I saw a dope quote. It said art fills in the space on the walls, but music and sound fills in so let me say that one more time. So art decorates the spaces on the walls, and music and sound decorates space in time.
That's crazy. That's fire.
Because it's true. Think about it. Like a lot of people,
for real though, to be honest, think about it.
Yeah, because people they'll listen to music and this brings me back to when I was this age, or this and this and this and that. So if you really think about it, it's decorating your time. There's different eras of time where there's different sounds and people want to go back to, and this and this and this and this and that. Think of like a song from like the 50s or something like that. That has a certain vibe and era in time. It takes you back. It's literally a time capsule. So so sound and all that is very important, and that's kind of what I wanted to start this episode with and break things off on. You know what I'm saying? So as far as sounds, like, we know how important they are in the world too, because the world around us, because we can hear things like, you could hear birds chirping behind you, or you could hear this and that. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I was younger, I would trip out on the sound of birds. I remember I would never paid attention to birds chirping, and then I would just randomly be going outside, and then I would listen. I'd be like, there's really birds chirping right now. And then if you really pay attention, there's sounds always going on around you all the time, but they're just in the background. Whether it's like you're in a room, there's a refrigerator running, it just has like a slight hum, it goes you know what I'm saying? You're outside, there's birds chirping, you hear the wind whistling on the leaves.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything, you know?
You live in a busy city, you hear the highway behind you or whatever. Like, sound is literally everywhere. And without sound, you wouldn't be put in certain emotions or certain feelings or even just certain places in general. And that's kind of how I want to transition this into audio engineering. So it plays a very important role in our lives, but then now it's like we've developed the tools where, I mean, no shit, it's fucking 2023 and it's just gonna get more advanced, but where we can now capture this sound. So now it's like I'm speaking to you guys, you're able to hear this sound, you get what I'm saying? You guys listen to music, I'm sure, watch movies, this and that. Like, imagine like a scary movie without sound. It probably, I mean, if the images are really gory or whatever, maybe disturbing, but it won't be as scary, because what happens when you see a jump scare?
Exactly.
And it's like the image matching with the sound. If it just jumps at you and there's no sound, you wouldn't feel it. So sound really is impactful as well. So that's the real true importance of, to me, of sound, and transitioning that into audio engineering, which is the first episode that I wanted to kick off with. So what is audio engineering? So audio engineering is basically anything where you capture audio, right? So give me a second. I have notes right here, so I don't care. I'm going to pull up my notes. But audio engineering is where you capture sound. So it's like recording, mixing, editing, sound processing, live sound, understanding the acoustics of the room, again, back into sound in real life scenarios, maintaining equipment, you get what I'm saying, and also just having like the technical knowledge to operate all that equipment. So that's what audio engineering truly is. Not to get confused with producing, I'll just brush over that a little bit. Producing is where you're kind of just creating sounds. You're not necessarily, I mean, they blend within each other, but you're more creating a soundscape. I mean, you could do that with audio engineering too, but you're actually piecing together like a piano, some drums, this, that, versus audio engineering where you just take that and then you amplify the feelings of that sound. So that's basically audio engineering breaking down into its bare bones right there. But then, so why is all that stuff crucial? Okay, so now you have to ask yourself that. Why is that crucial? Well, quick note, we filmed this podcast once already. We was in 20 minutes, but the computer crapped out, so I had to scrap this. So this is our
Damn it, Montana.
This is for real, but so this is our second take at it, but I'm glad that it happened this way because everything happens for a reason. And now this one's way more concise than the other one. The other one was shit. I mean, it was cool. I had some cool shit, or we had some cool shit, but it was shit. But again, so why is audio engineering crucial? So I know most of you guys must make music on yourselves if you're already tuned into this, or if you stumbled upon this, you get what I'm saying? That's a filler word. But if you stumbled upon this, then you already have tried making your own music. And think about the time where when you first got into it, you were learning, okay, how do I even really make a song nowadays? What do I need to record my voice, have music playing in the background, making it sound good? I feel like in the beginning, maybe you're not too concerned about it to sound good. You're probably more concerned about just doing the act of doing it. But then that's what I want to say. So if you already make music, just go back to the beginning stages of when you first were trying to figure out how to make music. So you obviously looked it up how to do it, right? Or you learned from somebody somewhere how to do it. And for those who don't make music, think about it. If you wanted to make a song, how would you do it? Again, so that's the importance of audio engineering, because you have to learn how to do it, because without that base knowledge of how to do it, then you wouldn't have music nowadays. But then it's like after you get over that first bump of learning how to do it, then you get introduced to the world of, oh shit, this is actually way more than I thought. If you're actively searching for ways to improve your audio and your sound.
Yep.
And not only that, but just to really get your point across and to get your emotions and your feelings across, because when it comes to music and audio, it is very emotional. But going into producing, you have your major scale and your minor scale, right? The major scale is genuinely more associated with happy feelings, and the minor scale is more associated with sad feelings. But then in between all those lines, there's a bunch of things. You can introduce tension, you can introduce relief, you can introduce this and this and that. So music and sound really makes you feel a certain way.
Exactly, exactly, 100%.
And it's a huge part of just being, I guess, in this creative space or whatever. It's just, it is a huge part of conveying those emotions to, I guess, the human experience, which is what art is.
Yeah, exactly.
Having some sort of catharsis or whatever, but...
Exactly, and for us as audio engineers, what our job is to basically capture all of these sounds and capture what the artist has, you know what I'm saying, and bring it to a certain point and enhance everything, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So a quick little example of that would be like, when I'm recording an artist or whatever,
yeah,
this guy included or whatever's, or whatever's, no, this guy included, yes, because we're both engineers.
Yep.
But whenever we're, at least for myself, I'm gonna just speak for myself though, from my sessions, what I notice is when I'm recording an artist, I see what they give me, and I kind of feel, because they're next to me in the room, or if you have a control booth or whatever, like they're still within you, like they're still there with you. And obviously when they're expressing, it expresses a certain emotion, or it's like you're creating with a certain emotion that you want to enhance. Now, is everybody good at that? No, because when you're probably starting to make music, you probably read your lyrics like a robot. Oh my God, I think this is pretty cool. Yeah, I had fun. I did this, I did that. So that's stuff that we're going to get into in the later podcast episodes. Like, but we're just talking about the bare bones. But so when you first get into it, like, yeah, people are trying to express emotions. Like, just think about all the music that you like. They probably, or not probably, but they most likely expressed an emotion that you liked or that you resonated with.
Or related to, you know what I mean?
Resonated.
Like that. Resonate.
Yeah. So, exactly. So it's all feelings and it's all emotion. And when you're in the room with like that artist and you're feeling the energy, you're feeling the vibe, a good engineer is gonna be able to take that, grab that emotion, and you're capturing the emotion through sound, and then just take it and then figure out what you need to do to it to process it, to enhance that emotion further, to get your point across. Because it's all about like tone. I could say, I don't have like a good example, but it's like you could say the same thing two different ways and mean two different things. It's like, I could be like, okay, cool. You heard the tone in that, right? I was like, okay, cool. And I sounded excited.
The enthusiasm, you know what I mean?
Or
you could be like, okay, cool.
I could be like, okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. It expresses, in the tone, it expresses a whole entire different emotion. You know?
So now it's like, okay, that sounded a little bit more uncertain.
Right.
So that's the baseline of audio engineering, is understanding all like the technical aspects of how to man the microphones, how to do all this, put everything together. But then when it comes to taking all that stuff, capturing it and enhancing it for the world to enjoy and for you to push that emotion further and get your point across, that's a whole other world within its own. So there's a lot to it with audio engineering. So back to the not analogy, but back to the point of, so if you haven't tried creating music, try to create like a song just for the shits and giggles, or think, or if you already do create music, think about when you first got into it. So I don't know if your first song was amazing, but mine certainly wasn't. When I first
exactly, we've all been there.
Yeah, when I first started recording, I remember I was like, okay, bet I want to make a song. I got a USB microphone. I was like, okay, how do I put this into the computer? Oh fuck, I'm recording. What the fuck am I doing? I don't even know what the fuck this and this and that. So after I heard it, I listened to it, and then I was like, this doesn't sound professional. And I remember I was telling people, I was like, it doesn't sound professional. And people outside of the audio world, they didn't really know what the fuck. They were like, oh, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, people would say like, yeah, maybe you need a better microphone. People all that, like, they would hit me with that. They would say like, oh, maybe you need a better microphone. But realistically speaking, everybody's situation is there. So what did I really need? So it's like, I needed the knowledge to understand what the fuck was going on, to be honest. That was the first thing. So
exactly,
I was like, okay, what people are saying I need a better microphone. Fuck it, I'll get one. I got a better microphone, and I was like, it still doesn't sound good with this and this and this and that. And that's like the first thing into audio engineering. It's about achieving the good sound quality. So there's a lot of things where you can create a quality sound. You're supposed to, if you don't have a good sound quality, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to be intentional with the emotion that you're trying to get your listener or your viewer to feel. Or if 100%. You're trying to express something, it's like you may not be expressing it to the fullest extent that you could if it was a good quality recording versus a bad quality recording. So, but the thing too is like, if we're going to tie into like the talk about vintage gear or vintage feelings, well, vintage is like you were mentioning earlier, it's like fucked up, downsampled or whatever, and that has a certain feel too. So if you want to sound like old or retro, or I feel like that's why that's a big topic within quote unquote the underground scene, because there's a lot of people who are underground who realistically speaking, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. All the recordings are fucking fucked up, like
sounds like shit.
Yeah, they're fucked up like shit. But there is an audience for that too as well. You get what I'm saying? So you just gotta pick and choose. But like I said in the last podcast we filmed, this is one of the things that I kind of talk about. As you progress within your craft and then with your art, you're always gonna want to evolve your craft over time.
Exactly.
Why would you want to stay in like just like that one little pocket of not necessarily knowing? So I feel like that's what separates good engineering from just average mediocre engineering. Again, it goes back to intent. So if you're a good solid audio engineer, I could, like me, I've been doing it, I would say self-diagnosed awesome audio engineer, whatever the fuck you want to call it, but I could literally hear like the flaws that people like in that fucked up sounding music and recreate that. So that's the difference. It's like people who don't know how to even make a record sound good to begin with, they can't do anything more than just their record sounding quote unquote lo-fi, fucked up, underground, this and that. You can't do more than that, because if you really didn't practice all the skills that you need to get a good solid recording, mix or master or whatever, you're literally going to be stuck in that box forever and you're not going to evolve. Why would you ever want that for your career or your craft?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what a good audio engineer does, because it's like, okay, if you're so attached to that feeling of, okay, I like this lo-fi sound, I like this low fidelity fucked up sounding kind of stuff or whatever, yeah, that's cool, and I get that creates a vibe, but progress from that where you can learn how to also make a clean sound, because making a clean sound is a skill within itself too. So once you start playing with both, then let's say you want to make a super clean sound but with like a fucked up section of the song, then you get into the territory of where you can start creating and manipulating everything from a 10. Again, audio alchemy.
Exactly.
That's what this whole podcast is about.
Exactly.
We're manipulating the feelings, the emotions, the this, the that of all of the sounds, so that way you could get your point across with your music, because that's what music is at the end of the day. It's all just emotional, and you're giving people feelings. It's very important, very, very important in our lives, because again, what's life without sound? Obviously, like, there's music, but if you hear sound, then you're hearing music. Again, there's different types of shit, so that's one of the things. And again, yeah, so that goes into the artistic expression of things. So if you're an artist and you really want to express how you feel and you don't know how to get a good recording, to do that, then it may be a little bit more difficult. Not saying that you can't. You probably still can express how you feel, maybe lyrically or whatever the fuck or whatever. But it's like
you might. I was just gonna say, like, you might not capture it the exact way that you want to.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And that's what it is boiled down to in its bare bones. So that's why, again, audio engineering is so important. Again, different from producing. Engineering is like you're capturing all the sounds and you're making them sound better. You're mixing it all into one pot or whatever. Again, this is again from the last podcast, but it's like just because you have all the ingredients to make a cake doesn't mean that that cake is going to be good.
Right.
So it's a skill to learn, to know how much flour, how many eggs, how much sugar, how much this, how much that. Oh, do I need milk? Do I need this? You know what I'm saying? Like how much you put, because if you put too much or too little, it's either too bland or too bold. And try giving that to a bunch of people to eat, and if it's not good, people aren't going to eat it. Plain and simple. So that kind of analogy ties into audio engineering. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So you got to know what you're doing. So it's a cool art. And then there's a lot of technical things that go into it. So it's not just, that's more of like the creative, emotional feeling standpoint behind it. But once you understand, okay, like, I want to create music. I want to do all this. I want to do all that. How do I start? Again, so me going back to the thing that I said earlier, it's like try to figure out how to record a song. How would you do it? Well, you need a microphone, you need an interface, you need something to capture the audio or to save your files nowadays, because we're in the digital era. Back then it was a little bit different, with all analog tapes, this and this and that. We're not going to go into that within this podcast, but to the modern day, at least of 2023, you need microphone, some XLR cables, a interface, a computer, and that's pretty much it, right?
Well, most importantly, though, you need the knowledge in order to know how to use all of those tools. You know what I'm saying? It's funny because I have like a lot of clients, you know what I mean, and they like to record themselves, which is cool. But half the time they still end up booking sessions with us just because of the mere fact that they don't know how to get the exact sound that they want with the gear that they have. They don't know how to use, or they don't have the knowledge how to use the tools that they even have,
Yep. And that's a very good point.
That's where audio engineering comes in.
Yeah, and that's the technical expertise, because when you're going into this, it's like, okay, how am I going to set up this, and even like setting up a template to a certain extent, that's a small part of technical expertise, but that's in the DAW. But outside of the DAW, it's like, okay, how am I going to set these microphones? How am I going to get my monitoring right? How am I going to do all this and this and this and that to make sure that you have something that's worth creating to actually get your point across? Not everybody has that technical ability, and there's a lot of stuff too, like the way that you position your microphones, the way that you run the signal to different pieces of gear. We're gonna get
signal flow. Exactly.
We're gonna get into all of that. Sometimes you'll be recording, you run into technical difficulties, you'll hear like clicking, or you'll hear popping, or the sound sounds filtered. Oh, why am I only hearing this in one ear? That's all the technical aspect of audio engineering, and that's
a skill. It's a skill in itself.
And it is a skill because, look, if you know how to do it for yourself, and you're good within your own setup, that's cool. But now try to go to other studios and try to figure out why their stuff isn't working.
Exactly.
Then you could be like, oh shit, like I thought I knew what the fuck was going on, but then you're like, okay, this is a fat ass board, or this is this. Every studio is different. So then how much of a technical expertise do you really have if you only know how to do it for yourself?
Exactly. And that's funny because, I even know people, you know them too, but I know a couple people who, they've booked a studio session before at a super nice studio. They had SSL board, everything, a tube tech, Neve, all the stuff, but they get there and they don't even know how to record or track themselves. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like they just booked the spot thinking that, it was going to be an easy thing, but it's like, no, actually, like you need the knowledge to be able to use all of that stuff that's in front of you. You know what I mean? And engineers have that knowledge.
Yeah, technical ability. It all boils down to the technical ability. So after you get that knowledge, you get what I'm saying, then it kind of boils down to how consistent can you be with it too.
Right.
So it's it's like one thing if you know how to record a few songs, and then when you're first starting into your audio engineering career, you're probably like, okay, I recorded this song, recorded this song, recorded this song, and you may not know why. At least because this is what happened to me when I recorded some songs. I was like, damn, this song sounds kind of good, and then I would hear another song and I'm like, damn, this song kind of sounds fucking weird or whack. Why is that? So it's like, after you even learn how to even set up all this stuff, then consistency comes into play. Because it's like, okay, so you can record music, but how consistently can you make a song sound good? And that's what audio engineers do. They problem solve. They do all these things. So that's why, again, this is the first episode, why audio engineering is important. Or more importantly, how to enhance your music with audio engineering.
Exactly.
But these are all like philosophies that you need to have. So yeah, back to the consistency thing. If you don't know what you're doing, realistically speaking, you can't do it again. You know what I'm saying? Like it's true. It's like if you can do it once, you could do it again. But if you didn't even know how you did it the first time, how are you gonna know how to do it
again?
The second
exactly.
time?
No, exactly.
And that applies to more things than just music, but it's true. So consistency is a big thing, and understanding like what different things do. So again, this is back to the technical aspect. If you're gonna use a microphone, if you're gonna use a interface or like a specific interface or analog gear or whatever, that's going to create different sounds. But after you get to a certain level within audio engineering, which takes a lot of time, I've been doing it for 7 years now, and he's been doing it for like 2 years. But the longer you do it, the more of a grasp you have on it. So I feel like
100%.
I feel like I have like a genuine good grasp about it, and then he's understanding it too. So, and if he ever has any questions, he just asks me, and I just kind of like shed the light. And that's another reason why I wanted to kind of express this podcast or create this podcast for you guys, so you guys can take away from it.
Yeah, I feel like the time for sure has a big aspect. Like how much time you put into engineering, you know what I'm saying? For sure, like, is how well it's going to pay off in the long run for you. You know what I mean? Like, there's even people who have done this shit for years, you know what I'm saying? But who knows? Maybe they're just not consistent for it, or they lack, like, the knowledge for whatever, and their engineering isn't even that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's really all just about, like, the consistency and how often you do it. Like, for me, for example, like, you know, I've only been doing this for 2 years, but within those 2 years, and within specifically the year and a half that I have been in the bunker in this studio, I've been in here nearly every single day. And I'm always doing something engineering task related. And because of that consistency, that is what has helped me develop the skills just from everything that I've learned. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you get more of an understanding, and that's why they say discipline is one of the biggest factors to success, because
exactly,
you need to actively do it. Yeah, it's just interesting because everybody's situation really is different.
Yeah.
So like somebody can tell me that they've been engineering for
20 years or
15,
you know what I mean?
20 years, yeah. And I could be like, okay, were you doing it consistently? And some motherfuckers are liars, bro. Some people are like, yeah, I've been doing it for consistently. All right, well, then you've consistently been doing it like shit, because then I take a look at what they got going on. Sometimes it's cool, but sometimes, like most of the time, if you know what you're doing and you're serious about it, then it's gonna be good. But but there's certain motherfuckers that they'll lie, they're not consistent, this and that, and they're just talking shit, and it sounds like shit, and it shows. So,
shows in the work, exactly.
Yeah, so you're consistently creating shit, and that's what I want to prevent you guys from experiencing or doing. So it's all about having the intent within your music, and that's why audio engineering is super important. For all the reasons that we stated, that should just show you that audio engineering really does play a big role, bigger than you think about it. And I just genuinely feel like certain people may take it for granted, and they don't really have that understanding. Obviously, I'm biased, right, because I make music, but that's just how I feel, because it really is a big thing to have. And it's funny because now that music is being a little bit easier to make, and it's more accessible for people to just create music,
right,
than back in the day. Like now, really, if you have a phone, you can just record on your phone, this and this and this and that. Back then, people who wanted to record, they had to actually get hardware, physical setups, and get this and get all this, the track mixers, record it to tape, this and this,
right,
and that. So there was a higher barrier level for entry in it. So that's why a lot of people didn't do it back then, or the people who did it really just had a genuine love for it. They didn't do it just to do it. I feel like nowadays it's a little bit easier for people to just, I want to make music too, and they just do it because it's just so fucking easy to make nowadays.
Yeah.
But then they take it for granted to the true craft of it and what it really takes to make a good song, good record, good feeling, just good audio in general.
Exactly.
So for all like the newer people who are just getting into this craft, whether you're old or young, it doesn't matter. But just understand that audio engineering does play a place in this world. Again, it goes back to levels. So it's like, what level can you really create? If you're a beginner boxer, you're not gonna fight like the highest class. Like you could probably
you're not gonna fight somebody with a belt. You know what I'm saying? World champ.
You could probably be like, but there's a lot of dumbass motherfuckers that have like a fucking big ass ego. They're like, oh, I don't give a fuck. Oh, fuck this fool up. Bah, you get knocked out, son. You got knocked the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there is levels to it, to where it competes. And then if you really want to make your music a career and compete commercially, then you're going to have to actually look into audio engineering one day or another. It's gonna come across your path, so don't neglect it.
Exactly. If you make music, audio engineering is essential. Whether you record yourself, whether you have an engineer, no matter what, the craft of audio engineering and being able to record and capture music, you know what I'm saying? It's the most important skill in itself.
Bro, that's
shut the fuck up. I know.
Captain Obvious.
I had something, and I had the most faded fucking moment of my life. Go scratch this.
I'm gonna leave it in there. So
shut the fuck up. Look at this fool. Look at this fool.
He's a high guy.
Look at this fool. Look at this fool. Look at this fool.
He's a high guy.
Look at this fool.
Fuck.
There's really just
got me faded though.
There's really just so much that goes into this shit, and there's so much to learn. Like there's endless amounts of knowledge to learn. You know what I'm saying? And as long as you have an open mind to things, then you're gonna be able to go a lot further than somebody who thinks that they just know everything about it. You know?
Yeah, and there's a lot of people out there. Don't neglect it. There's people that say, "Oh yeah, I know how to engineer. I've engineered myself." But okay, yeah, can you go to another studio and know how to run the system that they're running? Can you fucking know how to make consistently 10 good songs? Do you really know how to make somebody else's voice sound good, or do you only know how to make your voice sound good?
Exactly.
There's a billion things. Do you know how to use this but not that? Okay, well then you got a lot of learning to do, so don't knock it. There's no one solution to this answer, but that's why it's art. Like, look, you guys are trying to create art. If you're fucking trying to make music and you want it to be artistic and creative, everything about it is artistic and creative. Why the fuck are you going to use like the same template, the same this, the same that for each and every song? That's not art. That's not art. So it's like when you're trying to express yourself artistically, but you're doing something on the back end that's not even artistic within itself, then dude, what the fuck? So then it's not going to be as great as art as it could be, like the big professionals. There's people who literally spend their lives, okay, like I'm just engineering, I'm just mixing, I'm just mastering, I'm just recording, I'm just producing, I'm just writing.
Right.
Obviously they play within, they go with different other things in between, that's fine and that's normal too.
Yeah.
There's people nowadays because it's a little bit more accessible and more easy, but it's just there's a lot to it. So again, don't neglect it or don't downplay it, because that's a creative art within itself too, and that's what audio engineering is for those who did not know.
Yeah. And because you know what I mean, anybody can really make music, anybody can figure out how to record, you know what I'm saying? But it's literally goes back to what you said, like compare your song to like a huge record, and then you're gonna see the difference of where it's at, you know? And then it's gonna make you sit back and think for a second, you know, how can I get my work to be at that level as well, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that comes with an audio engineer.
Yeah, and if you're not even into that, like let's say like, oh, I don't want to compare my shit to a big record for whatever reason, then it's like, okay, fine, but does your play? So then if you don't want to compete, fine. So then play your record for somebody.
Exactly.
Or
and
put
look,
it out like and
pay attention how they consume it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Reaction,
exactly. Pay attention to that.
To their genuine reaction and see if they're like oh wow, this is actually cool, or oh wow. And that's a whole discussion within itself too. That's because everybody has different tastes, but just look at that as well. And if it's not if what you created and what you felt in a song isn't being translated to another person when you share it with them, and if they don't feel the same way, because that's all music is, we're just connecting with each other on the same frequency, you know what I'm saying, because we're feeling the same thing, we're feeling the lyrics, the vibe, the energy of that song.
Exactly. So, and now to add to that, like, let's face it, people who make music, we make music because we have whatever feeling is on our mind that we're trying to artistically express. You know what I mean?
100%. That's how all music is. So yeah, so if you don't want to compare yourself to commercial records, but commercial records are doing that, so if you don't want to acknowledge that, that's fine, but that's what they're fucking doing.
Exactly.
But okay, fuck a commercial record. You're an underground artist, right? You're an underground motherfucker. Yeah, just like the fucked up underground big thing, man. Just started like that, you know what I'm saying? Like all your records sound like that and shit. Fucking yeah, that's a feeling too. That probably woke you up, excited you. Whoa, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? But it's like if you're not like if you're doing something and you play it for somebody again and it's not giving them the emotion that you felt when you were creating it, and it's not playing back, then it's like, okay, you got a lot of work to do to get better.
Exactly. Just so you can work towards getting your music to be consumable to a larger audience. Exactly.
Yep. And yeah, so again, don't neglect it. But I think that was pretty solid for the first episode of the official Audio Alchemy podcast. So hopefully that serves as a good little introduction about the conversations that we're going to have. There are going to be a lot of like philosophical stuff, a lot of technical stuff, a lot of stuff about the career within your music, a lot about stuff about everything. So if you watch this and you have a friend that you like making music with or whatever kind of fucking thing, be sure to share it with them. Maybe they can kind of take from it, you know what I'm saying? We're all a community. If you guys want to reach out to me or him, you know what I'm saying?
Hit us up on the socials.
Yeah, just
hit us in the comments, whatever. You know what I mean?
We're always engaged with the community. So again, we appreciate you guys for tuning in to the first official episode of, again, the Audio Alchemy podcast.
Bam.
Super fun, and this is just the start. Again, we're gonna go into a lot of topics.
Crazy topics.
Be sure you're followed on Instagram, subscribed on YouTube, TikTok, all that bullshit, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you guys again.
Appreciate you guys.
Peace.